I see one person out there so far. Unless that's me. No, there's 0 people. No, I'm not even in here. I think that's some shit. Do 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 do. Doodle doodle doo. Ain't nobody in here. One person. One trifling ass mofo. Do 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 do. Ooh, I got a little thumbs up, I see. Ain't that something? Who's that? Must be secrets. Now we got 2 people. Oh my God, we're blowing up. We are blowing up. Who's in here, guys? Anybody? Is anybody in here? Volume's really weak. Ah, Scott, what's up? How's this? Better? Any better? Testing 1 2, Scott. Testing 1 2. Cool. I'm going without a mic. The mic I have sucks. So usually when the phone's close enough. When am I going to make short ribs? Oh my God. Who are you talking to? I think you're looking for Fork in the Road. That's the other guy, the other channel. You gotta talk to him for the short ribs. That being said, I happen to like short ribs also. Who else is out there? Anybody? Who's out there other than St. Louis Scott? It says there's 4 people out there. Let me know who's out there. One of them must be Casey Grits. Carl is probably sleeping. Nah, talking to you. Make some. All right, so we got that Stan guy. We got St. Louis Scott. Somebody just left. It's like a sinking ship here, guys. Like a sinking ship. Well, it's a Sunday night, late night. So I didn't figure anybody would be out there, but I figured I would jump on and see what's doing, see if anybody comes on. It's not Stan, it's Stank Beezy. Stank Beezy, okay. What is that name? What does that mean? Is your Beezy stank? Is that what that means? You have a stank Beezy? Some people are into that. And the city just got back to the bus. Rams suck. Yes, they do. Call the show. Peace. Speaking of call the show, Scott, your boy Cowpote's back to tagging me in all his bullshit videos again. Yeah, he started tagging me again, and I heard I popped on one of his videos today. Where's the Pooch? Pooch is actually, he's in his other bed. He has 2 beds. One's over here. You could see him in if he was, and he's in the one that's on the other side of the camper over here. He's taking a snooze. But yeah, anyway, so Scott, so yeah, so your boy's back to tagging and back to talking about me on the show. Wants me to call the show, call the show. I don't think I'm calling the show, though. I'm a little offended. I knew he would come crawling back. I knew he was going to come crawling back. If you look at the numbers on his show, unless I'm on there, he gets no views. On the shows where I'm on there, and people know I'm on there, he gets views. I'm kind of like Sarasota. I put the asses in the seats. Cowpote is harmless. Monty Python is batshit crazy. Truer words have not been spoken. Dude, she was on for 4.5 hours today, dude. 4.5 hours. That is insane. She should be locked up in a loony bin. 4.5 hours. 4.5 hours. I was out doing DoorDash. I came back. I ate dinner. Walked Poppy. Watched a little TV. Got back in my car. I was out doing DoorDash again. Popped on YouTube, and I was listening in my car. She was still on. I thought it was a replay. It was still live. This woman needs help. Her and Cowpote need help. I understand Cowpote's harmless, but he needs help a little bit also. He really does. But yeah, but she really she really today was a doozy. I can't. You know what sucks is I can't go back and watch it. I'll pop on when I'm in the car. I'll listen for a few minutes here and there. But she blocked me on both of my channels from commenting in her lives. So without being able to comment, it's not worth sitting through that. So I don't go in there and listen. I mean, I used to, if I could comment, I would stand there and I would listen for a while. Yeah, throwing some zingers here and there. As long as they were harmless, they would let them go. But all of a sudden, a week or two ago, your shadow block shows my comments, but nobody sees it. Yeah, same thing. That's what she does to me. Both my accounts. If I go on as Styler and I put some things in the chat, and then I flip over and I go on as Fork in the Road, and I go back into her chat and I look, the Styler comments aren't there. And the same thing if I go on and I leave some comments as Fork in the Road, and then I go back on as Styler and I go back into the chat, same thing. The Fork in the Road comments aren't there. So, but she used to let me comment, and you know, and I was pretty good. Like I said, I wanted to stay in there. I'm not an idiot, so I wouldn't put like really bad comments that would get me thrown out. So I was in there for a while, and then all of a sudden, what does it say, Stu? If you had to get a lawyer and fight the strikes Tim had on her, what did it say? I'd be pissed. Listen, my friend, if you're defending her, fine. I don't care. Defend her. I feel Tim has every right to strike her channel. It's one thing to go on and critique somebody's work and do commentary on it, but to go on and play videos in full, and on top of being in full, I mean, the latest video, I mean, she was playing videos today before Tim put them up. I mean, she was playing shit he hadn't even made yet. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I think he has every right to strike her channel. I mean, I'm all for good fun and stuff, and I'm sure there's ways to do this the right way. But I don't think the way that she's doing it is the right way. So yeah, whoever that was, I'm trying to pull up my other phone here, and because I can't see the chat on this phone. Give me 1 second. So anyway, yeah, so Tim should strike her channel. Because, like I said, she's stepping up. She's stepping over the line. Like I said, you can't play somebody's video for hours. She was on for 4 hours today. She played how many of his videos today from beginning to end? You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make sense. So what else? Anybody? What else you guys want to talk about? What else we guys got? Has anybody in here that was in Life and Vibes live today that watched some of it? Because I didn't really watch any of it. I listened to 5-minute intervals here and there. But was anybody in there that was actually watching it? Is Carl in there anywhere? Let me see if I can get this chat up. Hold on a second here. Where is the chat? Oh, there we go. All right, so let me see this. Stu, if you had to get a lawyer and fight the strikes Tim had on her, you'd be super pissed too. 4.5 is too much for me. What is 4.5 is too much for me? New York Dan is growing on me. Starting to watch his stuff a little more. New York Dan's the shit. St. Louis Scott. Problem is when he goes off on tangents about stuff that people have no interest in, stocks and stuff like that. When he talks Sarasota Tim, I love it. I can't get enough. When he does he's easily sidetracked. That's for sure. But he's a pisser. He's, like I said, I think his whole New York Dan thing is just an act. I think the whole thing. I think if you met him in person, you would meet a totally different person. I don't think you would meet him. I think he's his whole New York Dan is a persona. I wouldn't be surprised if his name's not even Dan. His name, could be Richard or something. Who knows? But I saw he was in his garage. I think yesterday's video maybe. He was out there working on the heater. That garage, Dan's not old enough. Dan is not an old enough guy to have a garage that filled with garbage and crap and junk, and that's the accumulation of a lifetime of, a couple that have been living in that house for 40, 50, 60 years. Dan is, I don't know how old Dan is, 30s, 40s, who knows? But he's not old enough. He's not old enough to have a garage like that. That garage is, like I said, that's the garage of a 65, 70-year-old hoarder. Wow. Amazing. Who else was I listening to today? Tim. Did I watch any of Tim's videos today? I don't think I did. I think I just listened to one a little bit before I popped on here. Might have been the last one he did. I saw he did one of him riding the Gold Wing. I didn't watch it. I just saw the thumbnail. And then he put out one after that, right before I popped on here. What the hell was that about? Hold on. Let me look. Oh, look at this. Sarasota Tim talks finance and investing. New York Dan's got a new video out. I'll have to watch that when I get off here. But yeah, what was Tim's last video about that I just watched before I popped on here? Oh, he was on his way to the gym. That's right. Bullshit. I didn't even watch it. I just kind of looked at the thumbnail. Yeah, today was pretty much another goose egg from him. Talked to him. I think he did a tour of his Flagstaff, which we've never seen that before. And then he did the bike review, the Vivor, the lift for his bikes. He reviewed that. I didn't watch that. And then, like I said, then he rode the Goldwing and had his little camera videoing traffic. And then he drove to the gym. That was this guy's day. Let me see something here. So this was this morning. Okay, 3.8 thousand views. 3,800 people watched this moron give the 10,000. What was that? Tim said he was tour of his RV. 1.1 thousand people watched him do the review of the Vivor bike lift. The Goldwing, riding the Goldwing, got 850 views. His little old lady fans do not like that Goldwing. They do not like the motorcycles. Those videos he does on the motorcycles are not doing him any good. They're not doing him any favors. 850 views. And then the Driving to Planet Fitness got 843 views. And those videos have both been up for 5-6 hours, the two of them. That's not good for Tim. The RV tour from this morning, which he put up like 10 o'clock this morning, got almost 4,000 views. I don't get it. I do not get it. But yeah, so who else? Let me see what else is going on here. Let me pop back onto the chat. See anything's doing here. Tim said he was taking Fred and Raphael out to eat. You know what's funny? Funny you mentioned that. Who mentioned that? BBGD5PK. Rolls right off the tongue. Funny you mentioned that. I am working on a video of Tim celebrating Fred's birthday with him and Rafaela. It's going to be a banger. Timmy Math. Yeah, use Timmy Math. St. Louis Scott. He's getting decent views after 10 or 12 days. Quite a few, 4 or 5. Yeah, it's Scott. I don't get it. But God bless. There's a shoe for every foot. An ass for every seat. What do the Italians say? A schvuyadel for every cannoli. What are you gonna do? But yeah, I'm working on a video of that of Tim celebrating the birthday. That's gonna be a good one. Haters who watch videos don't watch ads though. Yeah, no, I have premium, so I don't have to watch the ads. But yeah, it's like I said, it's just amazing that many people watch his videos. It's amazing and it's not amazing. It's amazing that, like I said, that 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people watch his videos. Which to me is amazing, but it's also kind of sad because he's got 67,000 subscribers. So that means like, what is that, 10%, 5%? Maybe 3 to 5% of his subscribers are watching his videos. And then, the views he does get, he scrubs half of the engagement. So he's got nothing going on, in his comments. And I think YouTube doesn't like that. I think YouTube likes videos that create a lot of engagement. I don't know about anybody else out there, But me personally, sometimes I find the comments better than some of the videos, and not just Tim stuff, just in general. You watch some videos and stuff, and then you go down and you read the comments. The comments are great. Dan's comment section, New York Dan, you go to his comments under his videos, and that's a party. I mean, it's just, he's got a couple of haters on his channel that are relentless. If you go on there and you catch one of his videos early and you watch, and then there's a couple people in there that they just go in there and they just whack him with like 5, 6, 7 nasty, just brutal comments, one after another. Bam, 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 bam. It's hilarious. It's, you know, and he's not an idiot. He knows. He's you know, like Tim would get rid of those, you know, all that. But I think YouTube would rather see the engagement. I think they'd rather see people fighting or whatever they're doing under, you know, under your video versus nothing. No, nothing bothers Dan, Scott. Dan loves it. Like I said, it's all an act. It's all an act with Dan. What was that old saying? Dan is what's that? He's stupid like a fox. Scott, did you see the video I did today of Miss Vicky at my hot dog cart? That was pretty funny. Oh, Scott, here's one for you. I'm not allowed. Vicky now has me blocked. Oh, you haven't seen it yet? Oh, anyway, it's a short one. It's only like 12, 13 seconds or something. It's real short. It's a one little zippy. It's Miss Vicky. It's pretty funny. But Miss Vicky has me blocked. Well, first of all, she made that apology video for me because she knew she was wrong. You know, that channel that was trolling her, it was so obviously not me. She was just trying to start bullshit. So she was wrong. She knew she was wrong. She made the apology video. And then she took just a ration of shit from the community. And I'll tell you what, Ray must have got a hold of her, and Darling must have got a hold of her, and all the big wig, all the big machimachs, all the big head spinsters from the Tim world must have got together. And the edict came in. And all of a sudden that video came down. As quick as it went up, Vicky took it right down. I don't know if she took it right down, but like the next day I went on there and looked, and it was gone. So she capitulated to, like I said, I'm sure Darling and Ray and whoever else is in the you know, the upper echelon, the you know, whoever's running the Tim organization. But yeah, that video she made, the apology video, she took it right down. I didn't like that. She should have left it up. That's why I made the video of her today. It wasn't, you know, it was good-hearted. It was nothing nasty. I thought it was funny. Your boy Cowpoke doesn't like his video at all. Let me ask you something there. Tim says his trailer doesn't depreciate. Sure, of course it does. Like I said, campers. I think the biggest factor in a camper is what builder what builder your camper is. I think it's called builders. I don't know how any of this works. I just know that I started, you know, now that I'm living in one, I've been here for over 6 months now. I know more than I knew 7, 8 months ago. That's for sure. Tim's camper, that line of camper he has, Flagstaff. From what I understand, again, I'm not saying it to be nasty. Who's that? Z-Car. Hey, what's up, Z-Car? What's up, man? I've been seeing your stuff pop up. This must be the Scott and Stewie show. I like Scott. What's the matter? You got the beef with Scott? Scott's the man. Scott is like, I would say he's like Blade. If you ever saw that movie Blade, Wesley Snipes. He's a day walker. He walks amongst both worlds. He can go into Tim's comments and into the hater comments. You're learning and having a little fun. That's cool, Z-Car. Takes time in the beginning. I just started doing the call the show. Well, if anybody else has comments, I'll talk to them. I'm answering any comments that are on here, my friend. Who's this? That's Figures Hater Channel. Great name. But yeah, if you have a question, ask me and I'll answer you, my friend. But Z-Car, yeah, like I said, I just started using the Sora app recently. When I believe it or not, the first time I ever saw Sora was Sarasota Tim, and I saw 2 or 3 of his videos in the beginning, a couple months ago when he first started his page, and I shit you not, I thought it was a real person. I had no idea that I never heard of Sora. I didn't know that app existed. And I see these videos come up and I'm like, oh, this is cool. There's some guy that looks like Tim a little bit. And he made himself a shirt that says send me money, or whatever it says on his shirt. And he's out making videos. And I was like, this is awesome. And then by the 3rd video, I realized, I started hearing about this Sora app. And I started, I realized what it was. Up until that point, I was making videos with, I was doing mostly song parodies. I was using, there's another app out there that you can make song parodies with called Suno. Really cool also. And I was doing some song parodies and just putting videos behind them. And I was doing that in the beginning. And then, like I said, I saw Sarasota Tim's videos and found the Sora app. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. So, Z-Car, have you, did you see my Miss Vicky video I did today? The newest one? That was pretty cool. And also, Z-Car, let me ask you a question. Is your name Z-Car because you have a 280Z? That's where you first saw it as well. And then your channel. Then I saw New York Dan. So did you see the Miss Vicky one today? With the hot dog? But anyways, yeah, so about the trailer. So Tim with his trailer. Yeah, the Flagstaffs, again, from what I understand, there's different levels of campers. And the one that Tim has is, of the, on the lower end of the spectrum. The appliances and all the stuff in there are, again, of the lower end. Yeah, I did, but I want to focus on Tim. You did what? Have a Z-Car? Did you have a 280Z? When I was in high school, I had a 1978 Datsun 280Z. It was the shit. I loved it. I graduated high school in 85. And I had it when I was a junior, I believe. It was such a badass little car. It was red. Straight six. What year was yours? Z car? Mine was a 78. There were two of them in my high school. There was mine. I had a 78. And there was another kid, guy I knew. Wasn't really friends with, but the guy I knew. 78. That's what I had exactly. I had a set with a 400. And okay, mine was stock. I was in high school. Like I said, I was in high school. I think it was 84. And I had a 1978 280Z. Red. 4-speed. Straight six. And like I said, there were two of them in my school. I had the red one. And there was a guy named Brian. He had a bright yellow one with centerline rims. It was nice also. My Z, I had, back when I was in high school, the thing to do with your cars was bass. Bass was the thing back then. So I had my whole hatchback of my Z. 280Zs are just two-seaters. It's not a four-seater car. Just got the two front seats and a hatchback. So I had a custom, they called them wedge. It was a wedge speaker built to fit the hatchback. So that's all that was. When you pop the hatchback, all it was this wedge. It was this big speaker. And it had four 12-inch subwoofers and four like 6-inch horn tweeters or something. And a couple like 500 watt Rockford Fosgate amps. And this thing, like I said, it would rattle windows. If I drove through a shopping center, it would rattle the windows in the stores. It was so loud. The music, it was crazy. But yeah, 280Zs. They're still around, and you can still pick them up. Problem is rust. Those things rust pretty bad for some reason. I almost bought one recently, a few years ago on Cape Cod. There was a guy that had one on Facebook Marketplace. I went to his house and looked at it. But it was in pretty rough condition. Had it out in his yard, out back, overgrown grass, and just a lot of rust. You go into those floorboards on those things, and they're all rotted out. Especially on Cape Cod, all that salt air. Yeah, definitely a good California car. Belle Biv DeVoe. Now you know. BBD. So what else we want to talk about, guys? Z-Car, who else do you watch? You watch anybody other than Sarasota Tim? And I saw you were in Life and Vibe. I saw you in the live chat. You live in North Georgia, 2.5 hours south of me. All right, that's cool. Will Tim really travel? Yeah, he'll travel. That's the thing about Tim. These haters. Here's the funny thing about Tim and these haters. You watch a lot of financial channels? Cool. Let me tell you about Tim and the haters. Tim is like the Roadrunner. And the haters, of course, St. Louis Scott, that's what I'm trying to say right now. Of course he's going to hit the road. The haters constantly say he's not going to travel, and he always does. That's the best part. Like I said, they always say he was going to buy the bike, and he's not going to buy the bike, and then he's going to buy the second bike. He's not going to buy the second bike, and then he shows up with the second bike. He wasn't going to go on the last trip when he went up to when he came here, when he came to Pigeon Forge in Georgia. Everybody said he wasn't going to do that. The EIDL loan, the golf clubs, all of it. He's, like I said, he's like the road runner, and this crew of haters is like the coyote going after him, and he's just like, me, zoom. You know what I mean? He's one step yeah, exactly. Who's that? Hater Channel. He's one step ahead of everyone. Yes. Have I met Tim? No, I've never met Tim. The closest I came was when I filmed him at Walmart. And I filmed his trailer. He came up here to Pigeon Forge in the summer. What does it say, St. Louis, Scott? I'll be in Vegas in February. I can broker peace arrangement. Yeah, that'll happen. I got a good Johnny Vegas golf club video working also. I got all kinds of shit coming. But yeah, he will travel. Of course he will. Like I said, whatever he says he's going to do, he does. That's why I kind of root for Tim now. The hater channels kind of did that to me. Like I said, I kind of didn't like Tim either. I liked him at first, then I didn't like him. And the more the hater channels it's kind of like Trump. It's like the more the news went after him, it just made people like him more. And that's what I feel like with Tim. The hater channels just kind of, for me, they push me back to where now I'm rooting for the guy. I love when he proves them wrong. Yeah, St. Louis Scott. See? There you go. There's a few normal people out there. I like I said, I think it's hilarious. He's not going to travel. Why would he not travel? Every time he said he was going to travel, he traveled. I mean, he doesn't do shit when he travels, but he does travel. I mean, he was out west. He went to Georgia. He went to Tennessee. And I'll tell you what, if he comes back to Tennessee this summer, I'll film him again. Because you know he's going to announce where he's at. You know, he's not going to... He's such an imbecile that he's not going to learn. He'll show up here and he'll be like, oh, here, guys, this is where I'm staying. And, what am I going to do? Not show up? But no, I never met him. I didn't want to meet him. That's the funny part about Cowpote. Cowpote says the same. Cowpote always says that I want to meet Tim. I want to knock on his door. And I'm like, I didn't want to meet. Everybody's like, oh, why'd you run away from him when you went at Walmart? I didn't want to meet the guy. I don't know if any of you want to meet him. I have no interest in really meeting this guy. What was that saying? Z-Car, did you meet Tim? Oh, Z-Car, did you meet Tim? I wonder, yeah. I don't think anybody's ever met Tim. I think the only one that I think I've met Tim is, what's his name? The Crushing It in Florida guy. I think supposedly he's met Tim. And like I said, that's supposedly, I don't know. JJ, right? Yeah. Z-Car, you've met him? Where'd you meet him? Spill the beans. Let's go. We got an exclusive here on the Styler6969 channel. Breaking news. Where and when? Spill those beans, Z-Car. Let's go. We got 16 people in here waiting. You met him in Florida? I sought him out because he seemed like a nice, funny guy. How did you seek him out? Did you knock on his door? Did you show up at Nathan Benderson Park? How do you know he has a short temper? Did he hit you? You met him in Boynton Beach. Interesting. So what were your thoughts? What were your impression? What was your impression of him? Did you guys go for coffee? There must have been coffee involved. Does that say he probably wanted you to buy him a meal? Well, that's a given. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to meet him. It would be weird. Even before I started goofing on him, when I used to correspond with him in the beginning, I never really wanted to meet him. I never really had it in my head. You did buy his lunch? Where'd you guys go? In Boynton. I used to live in Boynton Beach. When I was in culinary school back in the day, when I came back to Florida, I did a couple stages up that way. I lived in Boynton for a year. I lived off of Military Trail and what was it? Military and Wilbright. 2 Georges. Yeah. On the water. That's his place. Do you live in Boynton Beach? Z? Tim has done many greet and meets until the hater channels came along. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Like I said, I'd like to spend time. I'd like to spend next winter in Lauderdale. I'll buy lunch. I was just down in Fort Lauderdale for a year last year. He's a salesman and wants to do all the talking and wants you to listen, just like in his videos. Yeah, I can tell. I know the type. I know his exact type. He is your typical South Florida, slick talking, sales guy. And he was there in his heyday. I know guys his age, or a little younger, you know, in that realm. Back in those days that he's talking about, in that area, you know, back in, you know, I said I grew up down there. So Fort Lauderdale in the 80s, 90s, into the early 2000s. And that's when Tim was, you know, probably, you know, in the swing of things down there. I know his type. Anyone that's been around him for a bit would likely tell you the same thing. Jay knows how Tim is. Yeah, that's what I hear. I know you told me that, St. Louis, Scott. I told you. I think I told you. I worked at a place called Danny's Pizza on the corner of Atlantic Boulevard and 441. It's still a pizza place. It's not called Danny's anymore. When I was down in Florida last year, I went in for a slice. I forget what it's called now. There's a Wendy's on the corner. And it's in a little shopping center. That little shopping center used to be the shit back in the day. Things change so much, and not always for the better. When I worked at Danny's Pizza in Margate, that shopping center, it was a little strip center, had it had Danny's Pizza where I worked, which was a little New York style pizza place, and next door we had a little Italian market, like an Italian butcher, deli, market. It was awesome. And then there was a little shoe store, that shoe repair place, like a cobbler. When's the last time you saw a place where people go get their shoes fixed? And then there was a vacuum cleaner repair store, all old school. Margate used to be like a really cool little old blue-collar town back in the day, 40, 50 years ago. Not sure how it is now. And then, like I said, right next to that shopping center, there was a steak place that's still there. It does steak subs, Philly cheesesteaks. I think it's called Spanky's. That's still there. So what else we got out there, guys? What else is going on in the world of Sarasota, Tim? Like I said, remember the cheesesteak place? Yeah, that's still there. It's still there. It's funny because it's still there, and it's still got great cheesesteaks, but it's a different name now. Different owners, probably different name, but kind of the same menu. I think when I worked for Danny's, it was Danny's Pizza, and then this place was called Dan's. It was called Dan's Subs, Dan's Cheesesteaks, and some years later, somebody else bought it, and now it's called Aztec Resort. That's what you tell. Yeah, I remember that. You told me that place is high dollar now. It's one thing you need to live in that place. Plenty of money. I was shocked. When I went and I saw that place, because that place was the ghetto. 25, 30 years ago was the ghetto. Now it's big. I know, big bucks. I drove up that way. I went and had a cheesesteak. I went and had a slice of pizza, because that was my old neighborhood back in the day. And I went by, I came up Southgate Boulevard. I was coming from out west from my dad's place. He lives out in Sunrise, so I was coming from the west side. So I was coming up Southgate, heading east to 441. And I was going to make the left onto 441, and I saw the Aztec, how nice it looked. And I remember what a shithole it used to be. So I drove straight. Instead of making a left, I went straight. And I went and I took a ride through it, and I was like, oh my God. It was gorgeous. Like I said, that place was the ghetto back in the day. You couldn't give a slab away in that place. And now it's all, looks like, I would imagine, probably rich Canadians. Looks like. I know when I had my restaurant up in Lighthouse Point, I had a little restaurant up there called Maui Grill from 96 to 2000. And it was all, there was a couple of really nice Enjoyed it, flying out of MIA a little bit. And yeah, I can imagine. But yeah, there were a few really nice RV parks. My restaurant was in Lighthouse Point, which is northern Broward County. It was like north of Pompano, Federal Highway East. And there were a couple really nice RV resorts. And it was mostly rich Canadian people that were there in the winter. And in the summer, it was a ghost town. That's why my restaurant didn't do well there. My restaurant was a fine dining restaurant, and in the winter, it did great. But come the summer, when all the money people left and went back up north, it was a ghost town. So after 4 years, I wound up selling it, and I sold it to I had a partner. We sold it to a Brazilian bakery. I think it's called America's Bakery. And this is going back, like I said, we sold it in 2000. Yeah, 2000 is when we sold it. So that's 25 years maybe. Yeah, 26 years ago. Wow. 26 years ago. That is something. But anyway, yeah, we sold it to this Brazilian bakery, and they're still there. I saw them also when I was down there. That whole area had a lot of Brazilian people that were there year round. Had a big Brazilian population on the other side of town. So the bakery I sold it to this company called America's Bakery, and they did really well. They expanded. They have a few locations now, but yeah, they're still there. I was amazed. I drove by and I went in there. It was interesting. South Florida. My wife and I want to visit the Northeast one day. Where in the Northeast do you want to visit, man? I'll tell you what, Cape Cod is gorgeous. I lived on Cape Cod for 15, 16, when did I, 2007 to 2024, 17 years. The last 10, I was there year round. The first 7, I was just there in the summer. Well, like I was there like 9 months, 8 to 9 months out of the year. All the New England states. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous up there. I did, like I said, I spent 17 years in Cape Cod. The first 7, I was at a restaurant called Fusion Grill in Woods Hole, and that was a seasonal restaurant. We were closed. We would open like the beginning of May, and we would close like the middle of November. So I'd have like 4 months a year off, 4 to 5 months I'd be off. It was nice. And then I wound up getting a gig at a new restaurant. They were looking for a chef to come up with a concept and write the menu for this new restaurant that was opening on a different part of the Cape. And I took the job, and I wound up living year round. But I also spent 1 year, 2012, I believe it was. Was it 2012? I started working on Cape Cod 2007, and my last year in Woods Hole at Fusion was 2012 or 13. I was there for 6 years. And the year, that winter, where I would normally just take off and travel, since it was my last year there, I knew I wasn't going back. instead of traveling, I wound up doing I did 2 consultations. I did I set up 2 contracts. The first one was in Maine. I spent 3 months in a little town called Brooklyn, Maine. It was so small. Cape Cod's a small town. Cape Cod is small town-ish. I mean, it's many towns, but Cape Cod is what I would call a small town. Brooklyn, Maine made Cape Cod look like Manhattan, New York. I mean, Brooklyn, Maine, especially when I was there. I did a 3-month. Who's that? Good evening, good sir. Can you elaborate? What the fuck? Who spams a live stream? Who are all these people? Oh my God. What the fuck does that mean? Respectfully, Nadia. Respectfully, Nadia, you might be a little ishpeppy. But yeah, Brooklyn, Maine. I was there from Columbus Day weekend, which is mid-October, until like mid-January. It was a 3-month contract at this little tiny, it was a 5-room bed and breakfast in Brooklyn, Maine. It was called the Brooklyn Inn. And it was a really cool little place. It was a bed and breakfast. They had 5 guest rooms upstairs. And then downstairs they had about a 40 to 50 seat dining room. They had a fine dining, farm to table, organic. The owners were really strict about that. It was an older couple that owned the place, and they had very strict. When you like, the chef wrote the menus, but they had restrictions on what they wanted and what you could use. And I was buying stuff. It was amazing. It was really cool. First of all, I had a garden out behind the inn. Pretty decent size, where we grew some stuff out there. And then I was buying from, and it's funny because I still have all these phone numbers in my phone, about 8 different little local farms all around Brooklyn, Maine. Everything I bought, everything I used came from within 40 miles of where I was. All of my poultry, beef, produce, everything. I had no Cisco. I had none of that. It was really cool. It was a really cool 3 months. If you're ever in Maine, it's still there. The owners aren't there anymore. They sold it. They were like, when I worked there, they were in their 80s. They're still around. They're still alive. I'm friends with them on Facebook. Chip and Gail is their name. But the name of the place is called the Brooklyn, Brooklin Inn. It's in Brooklyn, Maine, and the inn is still there. The restaurant's still there, and they have what's really cool is they have in the basement a little tiny, small little Irish pub in the basement of the inn. You go downstairs in the basement, and there's this little Irish pub. It's about, I would say, it's probably about 10, 12 seats around the bar. And then there's some tables. There's a couple dartboards. There's a little pizza oven down there built into the wall, into the brick, behind the bar. And they make pizzas down there. And that's actually opened year round, where the inn is closed. They close a few months out of the year because there's really, in Brooklyn, Maine, come in the dead of winter, there's not a whole lot of people there. It's a very summery kind of town. In the summer, it's cool. It reminded me of Cape Cod. but I wasn't there in the summer. I was there, like I said, I got there. My contract was I got there right after Columbus Day weekend, and I was there till mid-January. And then my next 3 months, I went from there to St. Croix. So I went from the winter, my first cold winter ever. Like I said, by the time I left in mid-January, it was full-on winter in Maine. Snow, the whole 9 yards. That was my first time seeing snow, my first time being in a cold anything. I went from there to my next contract, which was St. Croix, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I was there for 3 months. That place was pretty cool also. I loved the restaurant. I hated St. Croix. St. Croix sucked. I don't know how it is now, but it sucked when I was there. Restaurant I was at was cool. It's still there. It's called Galangal. Galangal. Cool place. Fine dining. Very upscale. The guys that own it, it's owned by this older gay guy. He's got to be in his 70s now. He has a boyfriend who's like 25 years younger than him. He was the bartender at the restaurant. And what did it say there? I'm not a YouTube expert. Can you help me understand what was trolling about the question? Who was this respectfully Nadia? She's fucking up my whole program here. I'll have to block her like him. I'll have to scrub her right out of here. But yes, anyway, so this restaurant on St. Croix, Galangal, it was Thai, South Vietnamese. It was really cool. They authentic, straight up authentic. These guys close the restaurant every year for I think it's the month of September. Yeah, they close for like a month, or they close for the month of September. And these two guys go to Thailand, and they get all their curries and all of their dried spices legit straight from Thailand, and they bring them back in suitcases. They go over there with like no clothes, and they bring all their two big suit whatever they're allowed for suitcases. They fill with all their stuff from Thailand. It's amazing. This place was so cool. The guy that owned it was so wealthy. So we had everything. We had it was a little small kitchen, but we had everything we need. Anything that we needed was in there, and everything was kind of top of the line. And it was the only restaurant on the island, on St. Croix, that had air conditioning in the kitchen. Only restaurant. It was awesome. And there's a basement downstairs. I remember. It was huge. And you had to go down this winding spiral staircase. I remember spiral staircases were a big thing on St. Croix. My apartment, same thing. I had spiral staircase going up to my apartment. I had an apartment. It was a second floor apartment, and it was a spiral staircase to go up. It was a big thing over there. But yeah, so downstairs they had this huge basement that was just loaded with just all kinds of spices and curries and equipment. They had backup everything because you're on an island, so then you can't just get what you need. Same thing when I lived on Jamaica. It's a different kind of thing on an island. So they had just backup everything, woks and just anything that you needed. They had down there. It was huge. I used to go down there and just look around. And they had a huge wine cellar also. They had a really nice wine list. I'm not really a wine guy, but they had a really, really extensive wine list. And they had a big, nice wine cellar down there as well. But St. Croix I didn't like at all. I didn't. There's a lot of crime, a lot of shiftiness, a lot of drinking. The only things that are cheap there are liquor and cigarettes, and that's pretty much it. Everything was so expensive. But liquor, like rum, I was drinking a lot of rum when I was there. They make this rum over there. It's called Crucian rum. And you could buy a like a bottle, a regular bottle of rum, like what's the size? I guess 750. I guess it would be a regular bottle of liquor. I remember, and back then, this was 2013. I was still smoking cigarettes. So back then, I could stop on my way home from work at a little convenience store, and I could pick up a bottle of Crucian rum and a pack of Marlboro Lights for under $10. I can give the guy a $10 bill and get change. See you, Z-Car. Peace and the Schnitzel East. Have a good one. But yeah. But a gallon of milk was $9 back then. It was cheaper to just put rum in your cereal in the morning. Way cheaper. But yeah, I didn't like that island at all. I hated it. I drank so much when I was there. I was there for it was a 3-month contract. It was a 3-month contract. I was there from mid-January until mid-April. And February, Valentine's Day, we do a wine dinner. This restaurant every year, for Valentine's Day, they close to the public and they just do a wine dinner. It's reservation only. Who's that? St. Louis Scott, you got to run? I'll tell Fork. I'll tell him what's up. See you, Scott. Call the show. Yeah. So anyway, so every Valentine's Day, this restaurant, they would do a wine dinner. It would be like a 5-course, reservation only, prefix menu, paired with a wine pairing. So anyway, I had been there a month at that point. I got there mid-January. Valentine's Day is February 14th or whatever. We do our wine dinner. And I wake up the next morning and I feel like death. I have 103 fever. My head is pounding. I'm achy. I can't move. I'm like, holy fuck. So first thing I do is I call the owner of the restaurant. And I'm like, hey, Arthur, this is Stuart. And he's like, yeah, what's up? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I said, I woke up this morning and my head is pounding and I'm aching and everything, my whole body hurts. And I have 103.5 fever. And he's like, oh. He's like, you got dengue fever. He's like, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'm like, what? So anyway, yeah, dengue fever. I don't know if anybody out there's ever heard of it. Anybody out there's ever had it. But it's something like malaria. And it's spread by mosquito bites. So my apartment on St. Croix, I had a nice little apartment. It was right on, I think it was King Street. It was right by where, right close enough to where the boardwalk was. I could walk to work. I didn't have a car or anything there. So so I had this little this 1-bedroom apartment, and had air conditioning, but the nights were cool. So I would sleep with my windows open, but there were no screens in the windows there, and I didn't think anything of it. It's just the apartment that I was in. They just, a lot of places, most places didn't have screens. It's Caribbean, like Jamaica also, same thing. You don't see a lot of screens in the windows. But anyway, yeah, so no screens in the windows. I get bit by mosquitoes. I get dengue fever. And there's no cure for dengue fever. There's nothing for dengue fever. There's no treatment for it. You just kind of let it You got to let it run its course. Unless you get it really, really bad. There's something called dengue hemorrhagic fever. And that's bad. You need like a blood transfusion if you get that. I didn't have that. But anyway, it knocks you on your ass for like a couple weeks. The first 4 or 5 days, I couldn't even get out of bed, and you are just in pain. Everything hurts. You can't get comfortable. It's a nightmare. It's horrible. So that was my funny thing is also when I finally got over it after a couple of weeks, I got over it. I went out and I'm walking and I go to down the street from my apartment. There was a little cafe, a little breakfast place, a little breakfast and lunch place. Husband and wife ran it. So I go in there and order a sandwich, breakfast sandwich or something. And the husband was working. The wife wasn't there. I said, hey, where's, I forget the wife's name. I said, where's so-and-so? And the husband looks, he goes, man, he's like, she's out. Dengue fever. And I'm like, fuck. I said, dude, I just had it. He's like, yeah. He goes, I had it a couple weeks ago. Turns out that dengue fever back when I was there, like I said, 2013. Dengue fever they had an outbreak of it. But they weren't reporting it because they didn't want it to screw up their tourist season. So they weren't reporting all the cases that were coming through, so it wasn't really like on the news or anything. But yeah, I got it. Really, it sucked. And I made my landlord put friggin' screens in my windows for the last 2 months I was there. I was like, fuck this. Because you can still get it. You can get it a second time. If you get it a second time, it's even worse, they say. But I wouldn't wish dengue on anybody. It was horrible. Horrible. Yeah. And then I got mugged. I got mugged on that friggin' island. Walking from my apartment to the convenience store. Buy a pack of cigarettes. Right after I got sick also. A couple days after I was sick, I was on my way to work or something, or coming home from work. And go to the same convenience store I always went to. And there's a guy sitting out front. I come out and I'm walking to my apartment. I'm walking, up the street, head towards my apartment. And now this guy's walking with me. And he's like, hey. And I said, what's up? And we're walking. He's like I said, he's walking with me. And I'm like, hey, what's up, man? And he's like, oh, I've seen you around here. Like I said, at this point, I had been living there about a month. So he's like, oh, I've seen you around, for a while now. What's your deal? You're not from here. And I'm like, yeah, I just came here. I'm a chef, and I'm here, doing a contract job with one of the restaurants here. And he's like, oh, and he's doing blah blah blah. And he's like, how come you've never? He goes, why didn't you? He goes, you've never offered to. He goes, you went into the store, and you didn't even offer to buy me anything. When you went in there, you could have offered to buy me a coffee or something to drink or something. And I'm like, I don't even know you, man. And now I'm starting to realize that something's not right here. And so now we're walking. I'm like, all right. I'm like, oh, so now I'm realizing he's walking with me. I'm like, where are you going? He goes, oh, I want to see where you live. I'm like, what? He goes, I want to see where you live. And I'm like, oh, this is great. This is just fucking great. And we'll take a few more steps. And then the guy just kind of turns to me and he pulls a knife out of his pocket, shows me the knife. And he's like, what do you got on you? And I was like, look. And I reached to my pocket, handed him my wallet. And I was like, look, can I get my license? And he's like, I grabbed my license out of it. And he took everything else, and he took off. And the thing is, I couldn't do anything because the guy, from what I learned when I went to work the next day, I talked to the cooks I worked with. That whole island is corrupt. So most likely the guy that robbed me, if I would have went to the police, 9 times out of 10, somebody in his family works for the police. So either I would get fucked up, or nothing was going to happen anyway. So for the next 2 months, I had to live there knowing that this nudnik that robbed me, and I would see him from time to time because, like I said, he just hung out in front of this store on the corner. He would just hang out there. So I would see him from time to time when I would walk by. So for for 2 months until my contract was up. And it's a funny thing because when the owners of the restaurant came to me, when I told them I was gonna, because the deal with them was it was a 3-month contract with the option of, if they liked the performance my performance, and I wanted to stay, that it would be a full-time position, and it would be 11 months out of the year, because like I said, they closed the restaurant for the month of September. So I by that point, with the dengue fever and being mugged, and also for whatever reason, you cannot find weed on that island, and if you can, it's not good, and you get nothing. I bought literally a little pouch of weed, ground up, not even buds, enough for about a joint and a half for $20 or $25, something like that. When I was there, I found this guy on the boardwalk. There was this guy that used to hang out on the boardwalk every day. This black guy, with his dog, and he would just sit in this one spot on this bench under a canopy on the water. I used to sit there, and once in a while, I was smoking cigarettes back then, so I'd sit there, get myself a rum drink somewhere, and smoke a couple cigarettes and hang out and bullshit with this guy. And like I said, I wanted buying weed from him a couple times, and it was just garbage weed, and it was so expensive. And at that point there, I had lived in Jamaica for a few winters, so I used to buy weed. I used to buy a pound of weed in Jamaica for like $200 US. And now here I'm on another island in the Caribbean, getting a joint for $20 of just garbage weed. So it just wasn't the island for me. So I passed on the gig, and I wound up coming back to the States, and I wound up work. That's when I got the gig at the new restaurant on Cape Cod, and I wound up there full time, year round for 10 years, 11 years, 6 years there at Rock Harbor Grill, and then 4 years at Mooncusser's Tavern. So yeah, 10 years went by. But yeah, that's it. I think that's it for me, guys. I can't believe I went this long. Anyway, that's it. Watch for more AI content coming your way. If you're still out there listening, watching, like the videos, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, do all those good things. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good one, guys. Peace in the Middle East.